Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on the show, Still Learning. Today, I have a guest, Einar Barenholtz. He's with a product line called RoofMax. He also is a general contractor, home builder with Manifest Builders. And as I've shared in the past, I want to just expose some things that maybe you haven't heard of that can help you financially. And so I want to welcome Einar to the show.
Hello, John.
All right, we're getting all this stuff down, all this technology. Yeah. Great, thanks for taking the time tonight. I know you've had a full day, I'm sure.
Yes.
Up early, and go, and then you got family time, I'm sure. So again, appreciate it, and we'll try to keep it brief, but we'll try to give some good information to people. Okay. Yes. So you and I met, I think it was 2 years ago, at a home show in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I was walking around and I ended up stopping, and I was quite intrigued with the RoofMax product line. And you were gracious to sit there and talk with me and share. And, you know, I'm so excited that we have a chance to do this today to get the word out. Because obviously, you know, finances are always a little bit tight, and we found out recently through this so-called pandemic crisis that, you know, people live really tight. You know, there's not a lot of room for error, so to speak. So, you know, I'm trying to expose things that, you know, can help people financially. They still have need to spend money, but hey, if there's ways that they can save and still get the job done, you know, the better for them. And, you know, we want everybody to try to stay, you know, afloat during this time. So, you know, if you could just kind of explain a little bit of what RoofMax is. And I'm really quite intrigued because I know in conversations in the past, you told me that, you know, I put on brand new roofs, right? So you were a roofer, and you went and found a product that would save people money, obviously. And I'm intrigued to hear, you know, what really attracted you, because maybe you would have put more money in your pocket if you just replaced the roof. If it was an option to go with RoofMax and rejuvenate, I'll let everybody know that's the lead in, is that we're going to rejuvenate an existing roof if possible. So I'll let you try to answer all those questions.
Yeah, well, RoofMax is basically a soybean-based oil. It's carefully formulated to deeply penetrate into drying, cracked shingles that are starting to lose their granules and are going downhill. And like oiling leather boots or leather shoes that are dried and cracked, this does the same thing, not to be confused with a surface finish, shall we say. It penetrates deeply in and basically softens the shingles up to the softness performance level of close to a new shingle, basically making them elastic again as they need to be to deal with the heat and the cold and the temperatures. Okay. And like you said, it's been about 20 years that I have been stripping and replacing roofs along with other carpentry things, and I'm a general contractor, so we do everything, but we've done, yeah, probably hundreds of roofs. And so I'm fairly intimate with the process, and basically I know that every roof we've stripped, these shingles are dry and cracked, potato chip cracking, you know, crumbling at times. And the moment I heard about this product, this oil that would bring shingles back and soften them back up to more youthful elasticity, shall we say, you know, I literally jumped out of my seat like, I have to, you know, get spraying this stuff. So I, you know, signed up, and we have a dealership model right now. It was kind of a no-brainer. Like, it clicked within a minute of me hearing about this. I thought kind of, you know, like, why hasn't this existed decades ago kind of thing.
Right.
And for me, doing the simple math, 15 to 20% the cost of a new roof, you basically get to stretch the life of your existing roof.
Mm.
It's not like, doesn't take a lot of math to figure out, like, that's an unbelievable deal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
sorry.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. As a previous homeowner, I kind of knew around 20 years or so that my roof might need replacing, and I wondered if people had not waited the 20 years, but if they had done something sooner, like even 5 years or 10 years into the ownership. I know it's not the same because you talked about a surface kind of thing. I was thinking about seal coating a driveway. People seal coat.
Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, it may not really deeply embed, but the idea is that you didn't wait, 10, 15 years to seal coat your driveway. Well, you might have, but now it's taken the beating, right? And maybe it would have lasted longer if every 2 or 3 years you had done this. Is that sort of where you would like people to go, ideally? I mean, obviously that's not what we're talking about necessarily tonight, but ideally people should be caring for that product, that surface, throughout its life, right?
Yep. So shingles these days across the board are cheaper. There's cheaper materials that are used to compose the ingredients of the shingles across the board, every manufacturer. So 50 years ago, a 20-year shingle, a 20-year asphalt shingle, they say it'll last 20, they would often outlast, they'd even last 30 years, even 35 years, like impressive. Right. Nowadays, they have carefully figured out how to save money in the manufacturing process, and they're competing for price. So a bundle of shingles is $30, $28, $27. Every single manufacturer is competing to have the best price. Obviously, they're, like hamburgers at McDonald's or Burger King or whatever.
Right.
So my point is they've, replaced in the last 50 years, the general overall quality, thickness, everything has gone downhill with asphalt shingles. So now they're an average shingle, which they now don't call 30-year shingle anymore. They craftily call it lifetime guarantee. And when you look into that, the implications and the fine print of that guarantee is that, maybe it's the lifetime of the house or the person, but really after 10 or 15 years, what they will give you is the prorated amount of the shingles themselves. Now, they don't, of course, pay for any labor of stripping or disposal fees or reapplying the new shingles. So it's easy to claim limited lifetime, gold star, all these fantastic words. So basically, the lawyers have figured out the great jargon. The fact of the matter is, on average, a limited lifetime shingle starts going bad after 20 years, depending on the ventilation of the roof and a lot of things. Sure. So if we spray RoofMax directly on a brand new shingle, that would actually not serve a purpose, and that would be a waste of money because the oil would not penetrate deeply in, because from the factory, it's fully, impregnated, shall we say, with, the petrochemical whatnot, the asphalt whatnot. But as they start drying, it might take about 10 to 15 years. Right around the 15-year mark, you're definitely at the point where you look carefully. That's when you start to really want to spray. And basically, they say it's a lifetime warranty shingle, maybe, which might be equivalent to a 30-year shingle, which after 20, 25 years is literally going to fall off your roof sometimes. Right. You want to spray after like the 15-year mark, you might want to spray. And if you spray every 5 years, you might actually get 30 to 40 years out of a 30-year shingle.
Really?
Right.
With just one spray?
No, we warranty the shingles for 5 years. So once we spray, we say that the shingles will stay flexible for 5 years. Now, not to be confused with a no leak warranty.
Right, sure. Sure. How about, well, I'm going to bleed into this whole home inspection side of things, right? So if you were, let's just say that hypothetical home that you're talking about, it's 15 years into the roof, and they decide, I got to get out from under this house, or I want to sell it, I want to buy something else, whatever the reason, they're going to, and there's going to be a home inspection. They're really better off having you come in first, I would think. But if they come in and let's just say the home inspector comes in first, he looks at it and he goes, this thing's kind of getting close to long in the tooth, right? It's gonna be needing to be replaced maybe in 5 years or less. You know, things could start grinding. It's right on that tipping point. So they mark that down. Now the buyer is saying, hey, you know, I want to take something off the price because, you know, it looks like I'm going to have to replace this roof. Now you come in because they find out about you, maybe through this show, but they find out about you. They have you come in and you say, no, it's still got life in it and I can save it for up to 5 years, you know, minus the leaks and so forth that, you know, you're going to try to fix that kind of stuff too, I assume, if you can see something coming or showing. But the idea is now the buyer still thinks that, you know, this roof has got to be replaced and they want a discount. Now they just had you come in and do this work and they paid for that. Can you have an inspector come back in? Sorry for this long-winded question, but can you have the inspector come back in and say, geez, looks great now. I don't think it needs replacing.
Yes, I mean, you'd want to, well, first of all, if you had this service done before the inspector came altogether, which would be the best case, they would take a look at it and they'd say, that looks all right. You would, although, want to show them the warranty kind of thing. And you would mention, like, we just had this done. They might not know about it. They might have heard about it. They might know, depending, but you'd tell them all about it. They'd look at the warranty, they'd look up the company, and they'd probably alert the buyer, yeah, you know, these shingles were, you know, and then they have the service done, and you do, it looks like you have some extra life, and the inspector, if he's, you know, honest and decent, he'll say, yes, look, they're more flexible. And if the inspector knows what he's talking about, he will test the flexibility, and that is the key.
Sure.
But also, this warranty is transferable to the next homeowner. It's not based on the homeowner. It's based on the house itself. And we have a careful record of every house that we've sprayed, which also goes back to the corporate, you know, headquarters. And so they have a giant database. So it's, you know, pretty well recorded.
Right, right. So let's take that a little bit further. Let's say it's year 17. Now we've gone past this so-called, what I'm calling the tipping point. And now the inspector comes in and they look at it and they pretty much going to say, yeah, you're going to need a new roof.
Every roof is a tiny bit different in the sense that every manufacturer, the shingles are just a bit different. Every roof is just a bit different. If there's correct ventilation, for example, air into the soffit and out the ridge, for example, or gable end vents, then roofs can last a lot longer. Sun, wind, trees, you know, shade, hail. There's a lot of factors. I mean, you can have a 20-year roof and it looks fairly decent. Moss, lichens, black mold, which is called gloeocapsomagma for anyone who's interested. I have to practice that one.
Yeah, good job.
All sorts of factors dictate how it's going to be. So I'm not saying 15 years is a guarantee when you want to spray it. It's anywhere between 12 and 20 years is what I would say, depending on, and when we come out to take a look, which is free of charge, we give an inspection report, we would honestly say, you know, this is too young, you know, our oil won't be accepted into these shingles. They're not thirsty enough, shall we say.
Okay, yeah.
Or we would say this is too far gone. We can't guarantee or warranty this. Or we would say, well, yeah, or we'd give a price on stripping and re-roofing, and they might get other prices from other roofers and this and that, whatever. Or we would say, yeah, we'd recommend re-roofing. We wouldn't warranty this, but we will spray it in cases of when somebody says, you know, I just don't have any money. I really want to save these. And we say, well, they're really cupped up. They're really bad. We really can't warranty it, but we will spray it without a warranty. And that's a possibility as well. It's just stopgap measure if you literally cannot afford a new roof and things are going to get bad fast, you know.
Sure. And do they get a year or two out of that? Have you seen from your experience that people can get a year or two?
Yes. I mean, theoretically, if you had paper on your roof, it would last for a week or two. I mean, I'm talking about
Right.
Tar paper. And then the
Right.
sun would start baking it up. And theoretically, hypothetically, not that we'd ever do it, but if you sprayed this all with RoofMax, it impregnates into that paper. And if that paper accepts the oil, then it will last a certain amount. So anything is better than nothing. And basically somebody says, okay, what is it going to cost? You know, a couple of years, you know, it's not a complete science. We can't say, yes, for sure, you'll be fine for a couple of years. It's just, hey, that's better than nothing kind of attitude.
Sure. Yeah.
But we have no problem in saying, you know, that's too far gone. I wouldn't recommend it. Here's a price for a new roof. You know, see if that is comparable to other prices or whatnot, kind of thing.
Yep. Yep. Do you happen to give anybody any break that, you know, say 5 years from now, today they spray, 5 years, do you give them anything for coming back and replacing the roof with you?
That's a good question. We haven't worked that out yet.
Okay.
We will.
That's a by case, I would assume, right? Yeah.
I think we're going to do something nice for people. If they come back after 5 years, we're going to treat them a bit better. And,
so how much of a savings did you say that people could, what is roughly percentage-wise, what is the cost of the spray as opposed to replacing the roof? That's all different roofs amounts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's precisely the right question to ask. And it's 15 to 20% the cost of a new roof.
Okay.
So an average roof is about 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. So our product costs about $1 a square foot to spray. So if it's 2,500 square feet, that's $2,500. If you're getting a new roof for that, what is that? 14, 15 grand.
Yeah.
So it's 15, 20% depending on, and often when people want new roofs, they have 2 layers of shingles, they have rotten plywood, rotten trim. So it costs actually significantly more than an average strip and re-roof.
Right, because that was the job, one of the jobs anyways, of the shingles, was to protect all those other elements, right? And because it was failing, it wasn't. And so those things failed too. So it goes above, in that example, over 14, 15.
When water is coming into the house is often when people say we need a new roof. That is some years after it's been leaking into the attic and leaching into the roof sheathing boards. So it's pretty common that we're stripping off shingles and saying, look, I can stick my finger through your roof sheathing, the plywood. We need to replace that. And then that's extra cost. And so.
Yeah, and bringing mold into the home too, right?
That as well, which is terrible.
It's a real big.
A roof is the most important part of your house in the sense that you can go without siding for a while. You know, certain things are leaking, whatever. You cannot afford your roof to leak. I mean, everyone kind of knows that. It's really important. Yeah,
that's the beginning of the end.
That's right, and the end will be pretty soon. And people know that.
Yeah. So because I think a lot of people would say, hey, through the years I've talked to people and they say they're gonna, when the kids grow up, I plan on selling the home and moving. So they know that they're moving in, a short period of time, 3 to 5 years. And, it still hurts, right? Regardless of whether you have the money or you don't really have the money, that kind of money would really be like, oh, I hate sticking $15,000 into those shingles, right? So if they could throw in 2,500 or so, you got them 3 years, you get it inspected, it still may look good, it might pass everything else you had checked out, right? Because obviously you're doing a thorough inspection yourself to make sure that when it's not just spraying RoofMax, you're gonna make sure that everything is okay, so it doesn't do what you just talked about, which is
Well,
leaking.
that's actually a good point. When we go up initially, we locate any cracks. We look at chimney flashing. We look at plumbing vent boot cracks, you know, in the rubber boots around, which always crack.
Do they?
Yeah, free of charge within the service. We have an extra boot we slip over it. We silicone heavily and slip over. So basically that doesn't leak. If there's exposed nails, we're siliconing over that. If there's a missing shingle here and there, minorly, we're replacing those. So we want to give a peace of mind, on top of which, initially when we go up and do the inspection, I often give a video report. I have a big phone and I go up and I take a quick video of what I see up there. And I do a quick, 3-minute tour of their roof. And I bring the phone down, I show them, okay, this is that. And most people have not been on that roof for obvious reasons. And
yeah, they're a little nervous about doing that.
yeah, so, right. And so
it's left for the crazy people like you and your staff.
So they take advantage of Monkey Man, me, who go up there and show them what they're up against. And I actually do close up and I say, basically, it looks like you have 20% granule loss, 30%. And that's a big deal because, that's another thing. As these shingles dry out, they lose granules.
Yeah, I've tried to get the leaves out of my gutters over the years, and you got your hands in all those, right? You feel all of them in there.
Those granules are they're not meant to be in your gutter. I'm sorry, they're meant to be stuck to the roof.
Yes, that would be
How
ideal.
shingles are manufactured is they go through this process of, a lot of layers of different paper and then asphalt. At the end, they sprinkle a coating of granules, sand granules, which reflect the sunlight. Mm-hmm. Over years, that stuff, it dries out. The asphalt dries out, lets the granules go. It's think about it as glue, and it's embedded in glue. And the granules, one by one, go. Heat, cold, and they contraction, expansion, contraction, and they go into your gutters on the ground. You don't see them on the ground, by the way. They just blend into soil, so you have no idea. The gutter is your metric if you have a gutter, and sometimes you get that much in the bottom of the gutter, and it's pretty impressive. And you think, that's used to be on my roof.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
After you get to a certain amount of granule loss, it literally, the curve of roof deterioration goes fast downhill because those granules are designed to reflect the sun. So think about the sun is the biggest danger, baking, and you get a certain amount of granule loss and suddenly the sun takes advantage, like gets into and bakes those shingles. And then you see within a year or two, you see curling and cupping up like you've never seen. And then suddenly you say, wow, look at my roof. But right before that point is when you need to hit it to stop that from happening and prolong 15, 20 years, multiple coatings of RoofMax spray.
Sure. You can do it how many times? I know.
They say 3 times.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if you could do 4, but that's just what the RoofMax corporate, what the scientists who've been testing this product, they're saying up to 3 times.
Sure. Well, that's pretty great, right? I mean, that's like a whole lifetime almost if you did it right at the right times, right?
Correct. But the key is to catch it before they do this and curl it.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly. To your point. I mean, it's the upside down hockey stick, right? Exponential degrading of the shingle, because all of a sudden it's got nothing there to reflect the sun away. So it's just taking the sun.
But it also takes on water at that point. Shingles will literally absorb water once those granules leave and all that. I've stripped roofs where the entire sheathing, the plywood underneath, is moist. Now, water has not yet come through, but that's because in a heavy rainstorm, the entire shingle bed gets saturated, and it slowly saturates through, leaving the entire thing wet. And it's kind of mind-boggling, like, how did this happen? And sometimes you catch it in time where you strip off the roof, you let the plywood dry, and it's like, phew, another year of that, and it would be rotten, maybe a year or two, depending.
Have you found some to be rotten? I mean, over the years?
Oh, guaranteed. We've taken entire plywood off entire roofs with mold underneath and re-plywood entire roofs. More often, we've gone over with another layer of plywood.
Right.
All different methods depending on
Yeah, you've got a world of experience. So, I mean, that's obviously this huge thing with homeowners and trying to find somebody that they can trust, right? And that can really explain, hey, I'm going to tell you the way it is when I see it. And these are maybe some of the gotchas. I might find that plywood is totally soaked, because I can tell you this roof is pretty bad in shape. And yeah, so unless I've missed anything, you know, that you want to add, you know, I just want you to share on top of that, you know, how people can reach you and what kind of territory you cover and that type of thing.
Well, people might be interested to know that an average roof job, people probably know, depending on the size of the company you hire when you're stripping and re-roofing, takes, if they have a massive company, it takes a day. They can, you know, in a full day.
Crew. Yeah.
And you've got 10, 15 guys swarming your roof and, you know, cigarette butts everywhere and depending on whatever.
Yes.
If it's a smaller company, it might take a couple days. And, you know, you have potential damage to bushes, yards, grass, this and that, leaving nails around, like hundreds of nails, depending. This and that. So, but if you think about that compared to a RoofMax treatment, we come in and literally an hour or two later, we're gone.
Wow.
So one ladder up to the roof, and we have ways of getting around the roof with our, you know, different types of ladders and harnesses, whatever. But what I'm getting at is instead of having an army of invaders in there and also the banging on the roof, this and that, if you're comparing the two, you know, projects or procedures, ours is a very minimally invasive procedure. Also,
we like that.
Yeah. Also, getting this RoofMax oil over other things, if it gets on siding, it's not a big deal. It's a mild detergent. As a matter of fact, if you get it on a skylight, it's actually good. And we actually leave it, we spray it all over a skylight. And skylights typically, especially in the Northeast, get kind of grimy.
Yes. Yeah.
Just jump.
Almost like a film over it, right?
Yes. What happens is you spray this RoofMax all over it and leave it. It's a mild detergent mixed with this soybean oil. What happens, the first rain comes by and it washes it clean. Because it's basically like putting a bit of a soap on there.
Yeah.
Detergent, so that's good. Any kind of flashing gets on chimneys, no problem. Different flashings, no problem. Even if it, you know, falls on the ground, sometimes if you have a valley, it drips down a bit onto the ground. We do have a hose down there. We spray it a bit to dilute it a bit, but it's kind of diluted anyways. It's not caustic, is what I'm saying. I don't use a mask. I don't use gloves when I spray. It gets on my skin. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. So it's a very natural product. It's not nearly, you know, compared to bleach or anything like that. Right. Like I've had it fly back in my face when the wind hits, and it doesn't taste very good, but well, it's not meant to taste good. But it's not. It doesn't. I don't have breathing problems. It's not, you know,
right.
Natural
right.
products.
Right. You're staying away from the respirators. Good job.
No, we have not. I've never worn a respirator and never had any issues.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a natural product. It's soybeans, right? So,
well, it is mixed with certain things that help it bind to the shingles. You know, it has to be above 38 degrees for us to 36 degrees, 38 degrees for us to spray. It has to be fairly dry-ish, and it can rain within an hour. It takes a couple days to really soak in. It's a deep penetrating oil. Yeah, the last thing I'd say is I would rather spray 3 or 4 roofs a day than replace a roof all day long. We do building in general. I've got some crews and we're very busy. So we don't, you know, we're not attached to the idea of, you know, either which way. We're about as honest and straightforward as it comes when it comes to diagnosing the situation. Today, for example, I was taking a look at a job and they were explaining to me how they get leakage, you know, where this roof meets a wall and this and that. And I told them what you need to do is have a company come in, and this isn't our neck of the woods, so I didn't offer to do it, and they couldn't afford it, you know, anyways. But I said, you know, to strip off these 2 layers, need to strip up the siding, need to do reflashing here and everything. And they said, yeah, that's what everyone tells us. And I said, I'm sorry, you know, our product, I don't want you to waste your money, kind of thing. And I do say that, you know, fairly often. So
That's great. Well, because they'll hopefully, well, people are going to remember you at the very least, right?
Right.
Hopefully they do.
Right.
That's what we should be in life, is
Right.
we should remember those that are helping us.
Right.
So yeah, I really appreciate you being on. So how can people reach you?
The best person to call is my business partner, Sean, and I will give his number. Basically, no, the first thing to do is call our office, actually.
Okay.
No, I take that back. The first thing to do is go on our Facebook page, Shingle Savers.
Shingle Savers. Okay.
Savers LLC, I believe it's on Facebook. And
Okay.
take a quick look at that. And otherwise, call our office here in Wilton, New Hampshire. The phone here is 603-654 1940.
Okay. Is there a website?
Shingle Savers Facebook is the place,
Okay.
and also messaging through that works. Monitor those messages carefully.
Awesome.
To call Sean straight is 603, his personal cell phone, which is fine to call him, and 603-620-6504.
Okay, great. How big a region do you cover? How far will you go?
We're located in Wilton, New Hampshire, and we go good 50 miles. I mean, the one
50-mile radius.
Approximately. I mean, especially if you get your neighbor to be on board as well. If we,
Sure.
a couple houses in that neck of the woods.
Right.
I took a look at a job earlier today in Boscawen, New Hampshire, which is north of Concord.
Right.
And I happened to be in that neck of the woods, so it kind of worked out. But
right.
an hour drive, But we will, if it's a good sized job. And in fact, we are going to be doing a good 20, 30 houses for a friend of ours in New York State. So we're going to go out there and
Really?
yeah, we're going to have a hotel room and spend a couple days. And it's a property owner who has a lot of rental properties and has found great value in the concept of saving his roofs.
Awesome.
That's a massive thing for rental property owners and or realtors, condominium associations.
Wow. I love it.
Condominium associations, they're faced with, all of a sudden, they have $500,000 worth of stripping and re-roofing to do. Every part, condominiums are often like, clusters of them, and each roof might be 30, 40,000, 50,000, and then they have a cluster of like 10 of them. So all of a sudden, that's a massive amount of money to spend all at once. But if we come in and cut that down 15%, and we give a discount for volume, of course, as well. So
sure. Yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad you shared that. I'm sure this will go out to some folks that that'll resonate with quite a bit on the larger properties like that. So that's great. All right. I think this is a wrap, Einar. Thanks so much. Great talking with you again. And we've talked on the phone once or twice to get this set up, but we haven't seen each other in a couple of years. Great to see you. Looking great. And keep up the good work. Thanks for taking the time. It was a great explanation of what this is all about.
Thank you so much.
All right. You have a great night.
You as well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.